What's up, y'all? It's a Funsie podcast, and today I am joined by no one. It is just me. This is going to be probably the most difficult podcast that I have to do, being as someone that is not the most talkative individual as, in just their daily life. But we're going to make it happen. So if you're wondering why this podcast is coming out late and why I'm here by myself, it's because we tried recording a full podcast, but it didn't work out the way that we had planned. So, funny story. Josh and I were doing a podcast on Monday, as we normally do. Ben is away currently doing something that we don't even know what he's doing, but he basically told us he couldn't record the podcast and he's legally not allowed to say what he's doing. So, for a little behind the scenes, we're using some new software whenever Ben is away. So Ben has like specialized software that he likes to use where he can look at each person individually, different cameras depending on who's talking. Prior, we were using a different software for jmillydg when we recorded on our own. And this time we decided to use another one because this one is free. So when Josh joined, I invited him as a guest. When he joined, his camera was not working for some reason. So, never used the software before. We're like, okay, maybe I have to invite you as a producer. So I sent a different link. And then he was messing around. His camera started working. We're like, great. Fast forward an hour and a half of what was really good conversation. I mean, Josh and I just flow really easily, which has been such a cool, unexpected part of starting this podcast, because coming into it, didn't know Josh really at all. Know his videos, but just fun dude to talk to. Really easy. I find out when looking back, it only recorded my audio and video, none of Josh's. I thought about going through and editing it so you could hear my takes on things and my thoughts, but at that point, I felt like it was nearly easier to just re-record and somewhat try to go through all the stuff that I talked about prior. So yeah, live and learn, baby. I mean, you guys have already seen the other episodes. We're learning along the way. Should that happen again in the future? No. Will other things happen? Probably. That's just the nature of the beast, This is about the point where I would ask everyone what their updates are. But I'm pretty much just going to be able to talk about myself, really. I'm not going to be like, yo, J Millie said blank. Unless it's like super, super relevant, or it just feels weird me being like, this is what he said. I'll let him say that in the future. Updates for myself, though. My updates, a lot of the same. I know that's such a boring answer. I was excited about the European Open when that came along, and President's Cup. Really enjoyed it. Chugging away at my stuff, daily uploads, chugging away on another round stuff, and then pretty much coming up with ideas for this podcast. In terms of another round, is this interesting? Do you guys want to know kind of how my experience has been, with another round? Well, regardless or not, I guess you're going to hear it, because at least in the notes that J Millie had left for the podcast, he had left a note asking how I'm liking it after what has been pretty much like 2 months of work. And of course, obviously, I do like it. Now that I've been in it long enough, it is crazy to see how much my content has changed even in that 2 month span. A, that's for my own content. And then B, my understanding of what another round's audience enjoys. So a big part of, I felt like what the disconnect is I became pretty good at editing. I'll just say that because those are other people's words, not mine. I became pretty good at editing, and it just made it fun for me to be able to imbue my personality in through my editing. But I was never very good at getting people to care, or like the initial, like the hook, or like the words that you put on screen or the description. Those are things that were just afterthoughts for me. And I think that's fine. If people can sense when you're doing something genuine or at least I would like to think so. But one of the biggest things that I've learned, and this is one of Joseph from Another Rounds, this is like really his strength as a creator is he can take absolutely, I don't want to say nothing, and he can put up a question or something on screen, and people, you wouldn't think that that would work, but people love it. A newsflash, people love giving their opinion about anything in their life. And of course, that's not the only way that you should approach social media. You should do it because I guess you like doing it and it's fun. But everyone wants something different. And that's at least one way that I have seen that has been working. And trying to, I guess, somewhat integrate that into my own style, which has been interesting. Because at the same time, like you're putting all this effort into making something, you kind of want eyes to see it. Of course, that's not always going to work out in your favor, but at least I'm going to try my best to get people to want to see it, or not want to see it. You know what I'm saying. So learning that, I enjoy it. I get like special projects every now and again. It is funny how quickly you adapt to new things in your life. At first, like I joked about before, one of the things, like when I signed into Another Rounds account for the first time, I felt like I want to throw up. And now I'm just used to it. And that's what's great is a big thing in my life, and maybe some of you can relate to this. I, for a portion of time, if something was scary, I was like, I don't know if I want to do that, man. And as time has gone on, I forced myself to do those things. I feel like it has helped me, especially, in prior episodes I've talked about not really the best at being social in my daily life. And I've forced myself to introduce myself to others or say hi or what's up, and it's only ever led to good things, meeting great people, good experiences. So if you are like me and you struggle with that, really, every single fiber of your being will fight you. But I have not regretted a single one of those times yet. So you'll meet great people along the way. And I think you will be better for it. And it just brings joy to your life. Dude, I'm getting off topic already, and I'm only here by myself. But yeah, Another Round, grateful for them, of course. I enjoy doing it. I mean, that's really it. Is there really anything else that I can say? I don't quite think so. Dude, what do I got in my notes? Like, what am I supposed to cover next? Guys, I'm off the cuff here. I'm off the cuff. So, I did ask Josh. This was the icebreaker. Really weird to ask an icebreaker to myself, but can be fun because you guys can apply your own answers as well. So the icebreaker this week is, what is something that you were a snob about in disc golf? I had some time to think about it because if you got, listeners, if you've been listening for a little while, you know that I come up with the icebreakers. So I pretty much have time to think about them before they come on the show, because these guys wanted them to be secret and they didn't want to think about them prior to the show starting. So it just says icebreaker in the notes, and then they figure it out when the show starts. So for myself, I had a few examples. Starting out, I didn't understand the point of I was a snob. Like I was like, why would you buy baseline plastic? Like that doesn't even make sense. Like, don't you want a disc to last as long as possible? And it didn't come from a place of being like, oh, you have baseline plastic? Oh, you're a peasant. It was more so thinking like, oh, they have baseline plastic? Like, they must be a beginner or something like that. Like, why else would you buy baseline? And as time has gone on, of course, that's ridiculous. If anything, I love baseline plastic for throwing putters. I would even go as far as to say I prefer baseline plastic for throwing putters. Love them on approach discs. Just feels good, Just feels good, man. I think another example for times prior is when I started out. we always would feel the need to have to play the longest layout possible. We would just think, like, I'm not a baby. I'm like, oh, we can totally do this. So you just play the longest layout and you would leave there plus 20 and wondering, you're like, I'm not even good at this game. Why am I playing disc golf? And then you soon realize it's okay to play shorter layouts and just put your pride aside and just go have fun. Maybe that's why I am the way I am, where it's longer layouts sometimes, man. Just not a good time. So I just always enjoy ace running. I know Josh has said that before too. Just love ace run par 3 courses. You know, there's only a limited number of times that I can go out and play with my friends and family, go out and play with my wife once a week, once every other week. And at that point, you just want to enjoy each other's company and have fun along the way. So, you know, going out playing Maple Hill Golds and then being like, what the heck, babe? Step up your game. Does that sound like a good idea? You tell me. And I think kind of a modern snobbery for myself is perhaps, it's not so much snobbery. I just like a good tee pad. And that's like doy, obviously. No one wants to throw in a poor tee pad. But that's coming from someone whose home course, I don't say this lightly, it probably, my home course probably has the worst tee pads I've ever played on. I'll just say it. I know there are great people that take care of the course, and I'm not trying to put down the effort that goes into the course because, you know, they're doing that of their own free will. But these tee pads have been there for a long time. The best way that I can describe them, do you know those, like when you get like soda cans, you see someone like wheeling in soda cans, you know those like plastic separators? It's like the holes that all the soda cans go in, and then they like pick up the crate, I guess. That is what the tee pads essentially are. Really, really bizarre. Never seen them any other place that I've ever played. So they do that. They pack it with dirt on top. And it's strange because on top, it's very slippery. So I'm always like very timid, which it's funny. In terms of things that you do that probably... So you look at players from all different walks of life, and some are like really good at gap hitting. Some are really big hyzer flip players. Some people have monster sidearms. And I think a lot of those things are influenced, of course, by, you know, just like your background or things that you've done. But I think it's also where you played. Like, what are your local courses like? And for myself, I would say that's probably why I have a pretty slow run up, is because I've learned on tee pads like this. So I rarely slip, but at the same time, I'm always wary of like really, really like getting into a shot because of these tee pads. But I was saying, yeah, on top, very slippery, but occasionally you'll go to plant and then you'll pivot after throwing, and your foot will get caught in those holes that like soda cans, you know, like would fit into. And that's just not a good time. You're not trying to hurt yourself while you're out there. So essentially, if I have to worry about the tee pad, or I guess that's like the level of my snobbery. I just don't want to have to think about it. I'm not one to really complain about tee pads. I just want something that is sufficient. There you go. Oh man. Where do we go from there? I would be interested to hear what what Ben's answers would be for that. And who knows, even next week I could have jmilly give his answers, and maybe they're even different, because I'll be honest, I don't know if I remember what his answers were. He did say when he started, though, that he was the complete opposite of me, where he would play the short to short layout when he started. And if anything, okay, this is what I respect about Josh, is because he thinks so clearly using his brain. And that should be absolutely obvious, but a lot of times I feel like growing up I was thinking like with my heart a lot. And as lame as that sounds, you know, I'm going out and being like, no, I can play the long layout, I'm a big boy. And he just going out and just able to be like, no, I'm a beginner, like I should go play the shortest layout. And like that just makes so much sense. Like when he started, he said the first 2 discs he bought were, a buzz. Oh, look at that. For viewers, anytime that you give a thumbs up on screen, there's a bubble that comes up with a thumbs up. Don't know how I feel about that, truthfully. Yeah, he said his first two discs were a buzz, so Jimothy, if people have seen that before, like an ESP buzz, and a Warden, like a putting putter. And I don't know, those are probably two incredible discs to buy as your first options. Me, just classic idiot, like the person that's like, oh, driver, I want to go far. Let's throw this puppy. And that's another example. It's like, oh, I know people, this is what they say, but this is what I want. Like, I can do it. I'm different. So my first disc was a Yikun disc. And for listeners that remember, this is when Marshall Street, the store, was still in the garage of the owner's house, before they have like their modern warehouse that came about during COVID. And I saw the drivers there, and being the little anime weeb that I am, I don't remember the name of the driver, but it has a nine-tailed fox on it, and I thought it was the coolest thing. So of course, your boy goes out and picks that puppy up. And I didn't get to throw it for too long, because one of my local courses, I ended up losing it there, as one does. Didn't hear anything about it. 3 years go by, and I get a text, someone being like, hey, I found your pink driver. And I was like, I can't even remember the last time I've had a pink driver. And there it was, 3 years later, this driver. I mean, my mind was blown. So now I have it, and very, very happy that I still have the first disc that I bought. And it's also kind of funny to see, because I did throw it again, modern day, and incredibly understable. So I don't know about you guys. I am not the best at recognizing the progress that I've made. I strive really hard to do my best and to continue pushing myself. I would say that's a strength of mine. And all these things that I, let's say like a year or two ago, that I'm like, oh man, I can't wait until I'm at X, Y, or Z. I'm there, but then I rarely take the time to recognize the achievement that I have fulfilled. So that was one of those moments really of clarity, where you can look and you're like, wow, I guess I have come a long way. Because, anyone that plays disc golf even, or I was going to say does form work or tries to get better, it really feels like diminishing returns. Like when you get to a certain point, you're like, am I actually getting better? And it's the same thing happens when you go back and you look at videos of yourself. I mean, I look at videos from even the beginning of this year and just how much things have changed, and just a good feeling. Does anyone else care about your form things? No, they definitely do not. And I have found that out over time, because, I'm someone that likes to get better at things. And I feel like it allows me to better enjoy the activity that I love. I mean, I don't think anyone likes to play things and be bad at them. Sure, it's okay. You can accept that you're bad at them. There's no problem with that. You don't have to be like a sore loser about it. But you want to enjoy the thing that you're doing. That's the whole reason you're doing it. You're not there to be like, boy, I hope I blow up today. That's gonna be incredible. So yeah, that's it. Just take the time to think, to look back on things that a year ago, you're like, man, all these things that I wanted now, if you have them, it feels good to take a moment and acknowledge them, and then see where you're going. Something that I'm trying to be better at as well. Oh, this is something that had come up before in my conversation with Josh. I'm going to just ask you, the viewer, what your thoughts are on individuals that throw one brand bags, just because they're not even sponsored, and they just do it, I think, for the sake of, I guess it's just fun. Maybe some, well, no, I guess it's not just fun, because there are people that do it because they're trying to get on a team, I imagine. As a whole, do I care? No, it doesn't actually matter. Do whatever you want. That's the beauty of this game. You can throw whatever disc you want. something that I had mentioned before with Josh as well. I feel like I am the. Josh had said that he thinks in the bag videos are dead, and I don't necessarily disagree, although people still always put them out. I feel like I am the 1% individual that I still enjoy in the bags, man. I don't care if it is Kevin Jones switching over to Innova or an absolute, they've been playing for a month. I love to see what every single person is throwing, which actually kind of just reminded me of one of Josh's answers from the icebreaker that I had given. He said when he started, he was an absolute Discraft fanboy. And if anyone threw anything else, he's like, ooh, oh, why are you throwing that? Which is so funny because I could not have been more opposite. Like I was, if I'm sure, I mean, you see the hat and glasses and beard, you're like, oh, look at this hipster dweeb. Anytime that someone is trying too hard to get me to like something or trying to like really sell me on something, it pushes me away. And I'm sure that other people are like this as well. But, you see something that everyone else is throwing and it's like, okay, but like what else is out there? Like I see how this flies and that's cool, but I want to see what else exists. So I love going to like a good used rack and just finding weird stuff. Old plastic from manufacturers that are well known or things that you've just never seen before. Like that's how I have fun at disc golf. And that's why before, I'm always willing to, people will say one thing about a brand and I am willing to try it before. Of course, I take in what those people are saying, but I'm not going to let that control my perception of a brand until I throw it. Kind of interesting. I already forgot where I was going with that. Oh, thoughts on players that throw one manufacturer. See that? I'm already derailing myself. Really, really keeping this podcast on brand the best that I can. Holding it down for the boys. Bless up. Like I was saying, do I have a problem with it? Absolutely not. Do whatever you want, man. But I feel like where this does come from is, for some reason, and it doesn't matter what my opinion is, I remember back in 2021, players that would be trying so hard to get on Discraft Underground, and for some reason, it just annoyed the heck out of me. And I think back on it, and I'm like, man, I really should have made a skit about it. Making? What is happening, dude? I really should have made a skit about it. There we go. In general, though, if that's your method for trying to get on a team, I feel like that's kind of a weird. I don't claim to know what it takes to get on a team. Not like a super competitive, like playing a lot of tournaments person, at least on that side of things to get on a team. But I feel like it's weird to completely dedicate yourself to one brand and then you're like, let me on the team. I'm so dedicated. And they're like, if I was a brand, would I necessarily give that person a sponsorship? Because in theory, I'm getting everything that person would provide out of them for free. Like they're essentially giving me free advertising and I'm not doing anything right now. So how would I benefit from doing that unless I would really see a lot of value coming from that player? That's just how I think about it. Yeah, I don't have a good answer for you, honestly. If you're just doing it for like a fun creative challenge, or I mean, that's just what you enjoy. I mean, some people have brands that they just really like. By all means, of course, go for it. I mean, who cares? You can throw whatever you want, man. But I think about someone, this is something else Josh had mentioned. Okay, his words, kind of not verbatim, but he said he was pretty sure that when Bedanza had started his YouTube channel, he very mindfully was keeping, let's say, like 3 discs from each manufacturer in his bag and trying to really have a wide spread of plastic so as not to completely appeal to one brand over another and try to make himself as interesting and marketable to multiple brands. And that I'm shaking my head because I think about someone like Bedanza and I'm like, that dude is so smart. Just like from the get-go. Like really. I even think about, I've been fortunate to get discs from companies that I could make some content with, and they're like, "Oh, here's a shirt. Here's this." And I would just freely would put them on and wear them, and I appreciate them doing those things, but at the same time, they know what they're doing. They're getting free advertising from you, and that's only now, I would say, even within this year, something that I've really thought about is being conscious of what brands I'm putting on my body for that day. Because I would just throw on clothes, if I'm being honest. And, you can't really, let's say I'm making another round video, which I happen to be wearing another round. You can see it right there, a shirt from them right now. I can't be wearing, like an Innova shirt if I'm doing a video about it. Let's say, okay, so I had just done a mini sub club video for another round at the beginning of this week. I couldn't be in that. So the discs are coming from Discraft, the ones that are going to be in the mini sub club. I can't be wearing like an Innova hat and like a ThoughtSpace Athletics shirt while I'm doing that. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. It's not really a good look on my part. And anyways, just my point is I'm just more conscious of these things, and it just more the steps along the way of like things that you learn about. Is that business? I don't even know, man. I'm not a very business oriented person, and maybe I'll get into that a little bit, because I have the creative side, and I think that's kind of somewhat established at this point, but I almost feel bad to a certain degree about, look, I'm just going to say it right here. I would like my job in the future to be disc golf related, because I've never actually said this, but growing up, working jobs and stuff like that, I was always like, how are these people just okay going to work and just like coming home? And isn't that like, for myself there? And again, there's nothing wrong with that. These jobs need to exist. And if you are happy going in, working a job, no matter what it is, and getting out, I mean, kudos to you. That's great. If anything, I'm not going to say that's an easier way of life, but at least me trying to get into disc golf, my brain is firing 24/7. It's like, if you are trying to do something yourself and you get to like make your own hours, which is great, but it's also kind of like your detriment because you're always working to a certain degree. It's hard to like separate me time versus working on like my personal brand or disc golf, whatever you want to call it. I think I almost feel bad marketing myself. I want to make money, but I don't know who I would be making money from. And I don't want to do things that would I don't want to feel like I'm taking from my audience. Does that make sense? And it probably sounds stupid to some people because you're not taking. I think if people are following you, they want to support you because they enjoy what you're doing. And that's really cool. But I'm not the most business oriented, truthfully. I have gotten much better. And I'll just see where it takes me, I suppose. I am thinking about doing some discs, because someone gets a disc out of it, and I'm trying to use them to go to Worlds this year. I want to get some discs made to help pay for my way to Worlds, so I don't have to directly be like, oh, let me just grab, money from that I can't normally spend. And I'll just make it work, like the American way, where it's like, money I don't have. Yeah, let's do it. Let's pay. So that's something I've been grateful that people have been helping me out and kind of explaining things. And because I think I'm just thinking about it incorrectly. I want to do something in disc golf, and I am. And I know all this work will be for something. And I don't know what it'll look like in the future. Just kind of I have a plan, but kind of going with the flow. I guess that's really the best way that I can explain it. And things are working out well. Really. Um, yeah, we'll move on from that, I suppose. I Actually, let's talk about Parker Welk. This is a complete, I know, what a clean transition. I'm too good at this. I'm way too good. I wanted to talk about Parker Welk. We did not really mention it in our last podcast. I felt horrible for him because his vehicle was broken into, stolen, and in that vehicle was his disc golf bag. So I believe this is when he was playing the Casey Wide Open. So he had to ask for loaner discs from people, and people were great because they gave him a bunch of discs, and he played the second round of the Casey Wide Open with discs that he, in theory, what a disc is supposed to do, but you don't actually, it's not the exact disc that you had. Everyone knows that. I mean, you go pick up two of any disc, and it could be two different runs or different parting line, like whatever it is. And I guess he kind of like held his own, which is insane. That is insane to even think about. But this man, I guess the police found a similar Kia to his, was not his, and then they contacted the other individual, and that person, like I said, that person's Kia was stolen, and then they found, so essentially, when they found both vehicles, Parker's and this other individual's, and in the other individual's vehicle or whatever it was Parker Welk's bag with all of his discs in it still. Incredibly fortunate. But then on top of that, he did end up getting diagnosed with Lyme disease, which is unfortunate. Working in wildlife, Lyme disease is incredibly prevalent in people there. I mean, people jokingly have a tally at work of like all the times that they've been diagnosed with. Well, I mean, you have it for the rest of your life. I mean, that's what they say, and it lies dormant in your system. But sometimes people will get like multiple times. They pull off a tick, and they're like, "Oh, I've had Lyme disease 5 times. I've had it this many times." Knock on wood, I have never had Lyme disease. Josh was saying that ticks love him. I'm like the opposite. I don't know. I guess I'm lucky in that way. I don't really find too many ticks, thankfully, and I'll take that superpower. I'll take that all day. And maybe that's not relevant for many of you because you don't necessarily work in wildlife, but you do play disc golf, I assume, if you're listening to this podcast, which means you're probably out in the woods. And I get it. Like, I know it's easy to not check yourself. Sometimes you're like, I'm kind of lazy tonight. It just takes one, man. I mean, as horrible as it is, look at someone like Ricky Wysocki. There was like I'm pretty sure when he got diagnosed initially with Lyme disease, I mean, I'm not going to say he was on his deathbed, but I think he was in like rough shape, like not able to function. And this was my time before the sport, so I can't say certainly, but that's what I've been told. But what I have seen was a year or two ago when, Ricky had like this wrist inflammation. The Lyme disease was like attacking his knee joint. So it was swelling up and just all this fluid was present in there. And just unfortunate to see someone have to struggle with something like that. Sure, Ricky's case is an extreme case, but it just takes one bite. And something that I shared with Josh before that was kind of funny. Like Lyme disease, I'm not going to say it originated, but I believe the first case was found in Lyme, Connecticut. So, put Connecticut on the map. Lyme disease, man, we're killing it over here in New England. And for people that don't know, so not to get like too, conspiracy theory, brother, but Lyme, Connecticut, right off the coast of Lyme, Connecticut, is an island that's called Plum Island. And on there, they hold a lot of like diseases and stuff like that, like frozen samples of different diseases. And, I think places just do that sometimes just so they can like test stuff and work on things. And of course, people are like, Lyme disease came from Plum Island and all this stuff, but I'm not gonna say think too, put too much thought towards that. But I don't know, maybe just like an interesting little tidbit that you maybe have never heard about in terms of Lyme disease, because being around here, I mean, we hear about it all the time. I mean, there's so many tick-borne illnesses that you can get. I'm pretty sure Hunter from Foundation before, I'm pretty sure he talked about, I believe it's called alpha-galf, where your body is not able to, this is another patented Funsie thing where I'm giving like half facts. I don't think your body is able to process red meat. So people that have alpha-galf are not able to consume red meat. And I know he's talked about that. I mean, I'll leave it at that. Anyways, check yourself. Sorry that Parker was not feeling well. I'm sure he's taking antibiotics. I'm sure he's fine. But that's it. That's it, man. That's it. Just, I believe they say 24 hours for Lyme disease. My doctor told me, based on like things that he's read, it's like if you catch it within the first 6 hours, you should be fine. So just when you get home, just check yourself. That's it. That's it. But I guess we have to, even though Ben's not here, we have to talk about European Open and President's Cup. I'm just playing. If there was an event that I was excited for this year, it was actually this overarching weekend. And it's just cool to see. Difficult to watch, of course. We'll get into that. Being an American, I'm pretty sure FPO, like I'm on Eastern time, watching FPO is pretty much impossible. I mean, you'd have to stay up overnight to try to catch the coverage. So that basically did not exist for me, and I'm sure many others this past weekend. But MPO was perfect because they would tee off at like 7:30, I think, is when it would start around here. So fun to watch along. I watched first round, of course, second round. There were delays. I was told they would go out, play a hole. Oh, there's a weather delay. Finally come back. Oh, play for one hole. Oh, there's a weather delay. So I know all of MPO had to play 2 rounds on the third day, finish 1 round, and then do an additional round later in the day. It's difficult to watch. Again, I mean, how am I supposed to? Anyway, I'm not supposed to, or not. I'm just jumbling words right now. I was not able to watch that. So day 3 was pretty much shot for me. I just wasn't able to catch it. But round 3, Evelina leading FPO. Disgusting. So fun to watch. Not FPO. I already said I couldn't watch it, but the Monster. The Monster, this is our first time seeing that course. And it's funny, my father-in-law was like, you said that you didn't like Crocal? And it's not that I didn't like it. Like I said, it was beautiful, and they put so much time and effort into that course. It just, everything looked kind of samey to me, I guess. And I didn't like really sit there and watch every single hole. But yeah, I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it. Sometimes it's hard to describe why you're feeling it or not, but that's just not one that I was. But the Monster was feeling it. Absolutely beautiful. I know we're going to be losing the Beast next year for Worlds. The Beast, that's going to be the last time that we see that course. But I mean, if the Monster's carrying on that torch, I don't think they could make like a better course that could do that. And I will say, the Beast did feel somewhat soft comparatively, because the big thing they were hyping up this weekend was how difficult the Monster was playing. And prior to that weekend, I think like the course PR was like 8 under or something like that. And if that's the case, I mean, that's the kind of golf that I enjoy. Sure, I've said before, like I don't mind Birdie Fest. They're fun to watch, but just seeing a difficult track, as long as it's not like cheap or something like that, no, not a problem. I love that. And this course played so fun, so good to watch. I haven't even said who the winners were. So final round, I had mentioned Evelina. Evelina unfortunately lays an absolute egg, and Kristen Tatar fights her way back up above even Silva Saarinen and takes down the tournament. Do I have a problem with Kristen Tatar? No, of course not. She's killing it. I mean, she just came back and is able to take down all these tournaments. I say all. It's been 2, but still, it's impressive after being injured. And but I would have liked to see Evelina win. I'll be honest. I really enjoy watching Evelina's game. Every time that I get to see her in person over here at Maple Hill, I just really put some just blast those drivers, and it's a good time to watch. So was rooting for her. And then on MPO, had a disgusting battle between Gannon Buhr and Ricky Wysocki. I thought this was the time. Again, rooting for Ricky. Man has not won a major since 2017. I mean, that is like the storyline. And unfortunately, he still has not, because Gannon Buhr took it down. Came down to the final hole, and I mean, you guys have listened to all the other disc golf podcasts, I'm sure, at this point. You've heard everyone talk about it. Happy for Gannon. Unfortunate for Rick. But who knows? There's still 2 majors this year. But it's nice to be able to, hey, for everyone that's paying for the top DGN subscription, they're like, oh man, at least it was a good event, right? Because they're like, I'm paying this money. It better be good for half the coverage that I can actually watch. No, that's not their fault, obviously. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm excited for Worlds next year. I've been hearing some people being like, man, I can't wait to go to Worlds next year. And I'm like, dude, how are you going to afford that? I'm like, if I can afford to go to Worlds this year and it's on the East Coast. I think that's pretty much wrapping it up. Is this going to be a full hour-and-a-half podcast? Doy? No, it won't be. I'm sorry. Sorry to break it to you. I can only talk to myself for so long. And even at that, I'm still derailing myself constantly. Will Ben return next week? When we did record the podcast, we didn't know. But we did find out that Ben should be back for next week. So that's good. We should have a full house again, and you won't have to listen to just me. Just driveling. Is that a word? Driveling on? I think that's a word. Maybe. I won't steal Josh's thunder because he has some cool news that he did share in the podcast. But, I'm not going to take that away from him. He can share that next time. I'm sure you guys will see it. But he did share that Jesse from Trash Panda will be coming on the podcast in a few weeks. I believe it's going to be, I think he said two or 3 Mondays from now. So that is incredibly exciting. He'll be coming on. I know at some point we'll be having Bedanza come on. But please let us know of anyone else, whether it's on Instagram or on YouTube. Please let us know of other guests that you want to have on, because we enjoy getting to know these people. And, for myself, I'm pretty low in the totem pole. So I've grown up, you know what I mean? Disc golf grown up, been watching these people. So you kind of know their personality, but at the same time, they don't know anything about you. So it'll be cool to get to meet these people, and hopefully you guys enjoy that as well. So yeah, please let us know of other, pros or any people in the scene. Shoot us a hot boy message. Would be very much appreciated. But thank you guys. You get just me this week. Hopefully you got something out of this, and it wasn't just, I felt like I was just droning on. I could have definitely just made a Ben joke there, but I won't do him dirty like that. I won't do him dirty. Yeah, guys, please. I've gotta hit you with the freaking YouTubeisms. If you're listening, comment, rate our stuff on Spotify, do all those good things that for some reason pain me to say, because I'm so used to I enjoy doing this. I'm not trying to be but at the same time, these are things that help us. So I get it. You're like, oh man, I don't want to like take the time to have to do that. But if you do appreciate a creator or someone that you watch on whatever platform, these are just metrics that YouTube and other platforms use to be like, oh, this creator has value. So doing those things do really help us out. So just do that if you feel so inclined. If you don't, obviously that's okay. Hopefully you at least enjoyed this, and if not, sorry. But yeah, all right, guys. Thanks for listening, and catch y'all next week. Funsie out.